everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing great and I hope that you have been practicing everything that I've told you till now. Now in today's video, we will learn about some very commonly confused adjectives. We will quickly understand what adjectives are. Now adjectives are more like descriptive words or supporting words for a noun in form of a number or through quality or traits. Okay, it explains, it describes the quality of a noun, okay, or the quantity of a noun. Okay, so I will give you examples while I go through the words so you understand easily. Let's quickly begin with the first set of adjectives which are confusing. Now the first set of words are many and much. Now both represents numbers, right? Many also represents numbers. Much is also used for representing quantity. Okay, so let us look at what is the difference, why it is confusing and where we will use. I will give you examples for each one. Okay, so many is used for plural nouns. Many people, many children, many animals, okay, many cities. So you are using it with plural form of nouns. With every noun you are going to use it for the plural version. Example, Sarah doesn't have many friends. Okay, so here you are using many to show quantity of friends. Sarah doesn't have many friends. Now let's look at much. Now the word much is used with singular and collective nouns. Now I have a video made on collective nouns. I will link that up here so that you can go ahead and watch and understand what collective nouns are. Basically, collective nouns is a word that describes a group of animal or people or things. Okay, so much is used in that particular way or in a with a singular noun. Okay, collective is a group of group of things and singular noun is a single thing. Okay, so use much for it. I'll give you an example so you will get an idea. John doesn't have much money. Are you understanding? He doesn't have money. Money in itself is quantifiable. Okay, so he doesn't have much money. Money is already a group of collection of rupees and coins and everything. So it's more of a collective noun. So you are using much with money. So John doesn't have much money, or you can say John doesn't have much of courage. Okay, so it's like that. You use it with a singular noun or a collective noun. Moving ahead to the next set of words. Few and a few. What is the difference? Let's look at few first. The word few represents a negative quantity or shortage. That means something is less in amount. Okay, something is very few in amount, less. Let's look at an example. Julia has very few friends. Here you are using this adjective to describe number of friends. Julia has very few friends. Now all these words that I am giving you are adjectives. Since I have mentioned in the beginning, these are all adjectives. So here the adjective that is used is few. Few is used for representing a negative quantity or a shortage of something. Okay, since Julia has few friends, it is showing she has shortage of friends, she has less friends. Okay, now let's look at how a few, what is the difference between few and a few, how a few is used. A few represents a positive quantity, unlike few. Few represents negative quantity. A few represents positive quantity and it is used mostly with quantifiable nouns or countable nouns, nouns that you can count. I'll give you an example. Julia has a few friends. So here in both the situations you are trying to tell that she has less friends, but the use of both the words are different. How you will use few? You say Julia has few friends, but when you are saying a few, you say Julia has a few friends. Okay, so That's the difference. That is why it is confusing. You have to be very careful how it is used, with what noun it is used. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Moving ahead, each and every. Again, these two adjectives, how they are used. Each is used either with an individual item or few items. Okay, more than one item. Let me give you an example. The mangoes are 10 rupees each. Okay, the price of each mango is 10 rupees. So we are using each with a single thing, a single piece of mango. It represents the value of a single piece. Okay, a single piece of fruit. Now let's look at how every is used. Now every is used in two ways. First, it is used for a group of things, unlike each is used for a single thing or separate individual things. Okay, but when you are using every, you are using it for a group of things. The second use is every also describes frequency of an action. Okay, I'll give you an example. Emily goes to the beach every weekend. So Emily visits the beach every weekend. So that shows frequency of something. So here every is used in presence frequency of an action. She visits the beach every weekend. So it is done repeatedly. Okay, so that's the difference. These are very small. There are very small differences in the use of both these words, each, every. So that is why it can get a bit confusing. Now suppose let me use each. In this situation, it will sound very different, but give you the true meaning of what you're trying to say. Emily visits the beach each weekend. Okay, does it show the frequency of visit? No. It says that each weekend she goes, but how does she actually go very frequently? It doesn't say that. So instead of each, you will use every weekend. When you say every weekend, that means it is a very repetitive action being done. So it shows the frequency. So that's the difference. Moving on to the next set of words. Now these are three words: injured, wounded and hurt. All of the words mean the same. They are like similar words. Yes, they mean the same, but they have different uses with where you are going to use it. That's where it gets confusing. I will give you examples for each one of it. Let's look at injured, what it represents or what it means. Victims are injured physically, emotionally and mentally. So here we are actually talking about an injury, be it physical, be it mental or spiritual. Okay, so this is about an injury. Let me give you an example. The injured bowler was taken off the field. Okay, so here we are talking about a real injury. So when you use injured, you will use it in situations where there is an actual injury, be it physical or mental or spiritual. Okay, so when you are saying injured, that means that person is having an injury in all these three aspects. Now wounded, it sounds similar, but we will see how it is used and where it is used. Now when you say wounded, that means it is talking about the injury, the wound. The suppose it is a cut, so the cut is a wound. Okay, so when you say he is wounded, you are talking actually about that particular injury, that wound, or there is a laceration or a cut. Laceration is mostly like a deep cut. Okay, so let's think of it that we are talking about a deep cut. So the wound, he is wounded. When you say that that person is wounded, you are actually talking about the cut. Okay, so let's look at an example. The child was screaming louder than a injured animal or a cut animal. Okay, so here you are talking about a particular injury. So wound comes from injury. Wound is actually an injury. So the thing, the injured thing is a wound. It could be a cut, it could be a hole or a broken bone or anything. That is a wound. So when you say wounded, that means that person is injured, but you have to specify what is the wound. That is why you use wounded. Okay, now let's look at hurt, what it means and how it is used. Hurt means a description of either a physical pain or emotional pain. When you say someone is hurt, that person is hurt either physically or emotionally. But we are not using the word injured here. Okay, we are mostly, it is more like a expression of, directly saying injured, you're saying hurt. Okay, it is more of a casual use. We say, oh, that person got hurt. I got hurt while riding the bicycle. I slipped off the stairs and got hurt. That means you got injured physically. Okay, now let's look at an example. The cat's owner was relieved that the cat wasn't hurt. The cat fell or something happened, or maybe it came in front of a vehicle and it did not get hurt. So the owner is relieved about it. So that means it is not hurt physically. Here we are talking about the physical hurt. Hurt could be emotional and spiritual as well, just like an injured, but hurt is more of a generic use. Instead of injured, instead of saying injured, you use hurt. Okay, so it is very similar to injured. I hope you got this one. Injured, wounded and hurt. Injured and hurt are more like, hurt is more like a generic use, injured is more like a specific use, but wound is talking about a particular injury. Okay, so that's the difference. So you have to understand, while you are describing a similar situation or writing about a similar situation, which word you are going to use. Are you going to use injured or wounded or hurt? So you have to judge that about the situation. Now let's move on to the next set of words. Less and fewer. Now they both mean the same. That means something is less in number or few in number. Okay, so let me give you examples. When it comes to less, it is used with collective nouns, non-countable nouns, and it is used for, to represent bulk or loads of things or amount, big amounts. Okay. Fewer is used for individual items or with countable nouns. The difference between countable and non-countable nouns are, the one that you can count is a countable noun, the one which is non-countable is a non-countable noun. I'll give you examples for both so you'll understand. Less pollution is better for the environment. Now you're talking about the pollution. Pollution is in bulk, amount. It is, you can't count. Okay, you can't count like numbers, pollution. So it is more of like a non-countable noun. So you are talking about non-countable noun, pollution. So less pollution is good for the environment. Now how you will use few, fewer, it is again representing the similar example. If people threw lesser bottles, the world would be a much cleaner place. Now you see, we are talking about pollution here again, but here we are using it for countable noun. You are talking about the number of bottles. So fewer is used with countable nouns and less is used with non-countable nouns. That's the difference. Let's move ahead with the next set of words. Last, latter and latest. Let's look at how these adjectives are used and where it is used. Everybody knows last. Last is the opposite of first. 1 and 10. 1 is first, 10 is last. That's the difference. Let me give you an example. Read the first and last paragraphs of the chapter. So last means the end one, the most ending part of it, and the first and last. So last, you can understand, it is easy to understand what last is. Now latter, what does latter mean and how it is used? Latter is the opposite of former. Now you must have heard it or read it somewhere, the former and the latter. You mention about two things, the former and the latter. The former precedent, the latter precedent. The latter means the recent ones. Former is the older ones. That's the difference. Let me give you an example. Of the two choices, I prefer the latter. That means that came later. Okay. So latter means that later one, the recent one. Okay. So you are going to use latter for something that is recent. Okay. Maybe someone offered you two choices of coffee, and instead of the former, that is the first one, the first choice, you go for the second choice. The second choice is the latter. I hope you understood this one. Latest means the most recent. Now I just mentioned that latter is also most recent. Latter and latest both have similar meanings. Latter means the later one, that came later. Okay, first choice and the second choice, the second choice that came later, that is latter, that is your latter choice. Okay, but when it says latest means something that is most recent, trending, that we say these days, trending, latest music video, latest movie, recent, most recent. So that is latest. So I hope you will understand how you will use latter and latest. Latest innovations were astounding. Latest means the most recent. You are talking about maybe a architecture of a building or something, and where you are talking about its renovation, the most recent renovations. Here you are using latest. I hope you understood last, latter and latest. Okay, just to mention, latter and later sound different. Later is later, latter is latter. So later is after some time. I will see you later, that means I will meet you after some time. But when you say latter, it's more like a first and second thing. Okay, the second one is the latter one. Moving on to the next word, high and tall. Now they both are talking about height, right? So let's see the difference and why it is confusing and how we will use it. High describes the position of a certain thing from the ground. High, how high is it? Okay, how high is the bird flying? That is an example for high. How high is the plane flying? That is the example for high. Now let's look at tall. Tall is the measure of the size or height of a vertical standing thing or a human being, either of a building or of a person, height or size, the vertical size. Okay, so when you are talking about a height, you say tall, you use tall. I'll give you an example. The Statue of Liberty is very tall. So you are talking about a vertical structure here and the size or the height of it. So in this situation you will use tall. It's a tall building, not a high building. But when a plane is flying, you're talking about how high it is. Okay, the mountain is tall, but the sky is high. That's the difference. Moving on to the next word, sick and ill. Again, they both mean same, but their uses are a bit different, which is why it gets a bit confusing. Let's learn why. Sick means, or it represents sickness, or either physical or mental, of one person or more than one person. Let me give you an example. After the roller coaster ride, I felt sick. Okay, so you're feeling sick. You're not feeling very good, you're feeling uneasy. So it is showing about a sickness, a physical sickness. So you are talking about a physical sickness, sick. But what is ill? Ill doesn't necessarily talk about sickness or being sick. It can be used for something bad or poor or sick. Okay, so when you say sick, it is only about a sickness, a person's health. But when you say ill, it could be about a sickness, also it could be about bad or poor. I will give you an example. The expedition was ill-advised. Now it could be about some adventure or an expedition which was guided very in a wrong way, or it wasn't the right thing to do or the right way to do, so it was ill advised. Okay, I'll give you another example. Ill behavior, that means bad behavior. Ill manner, or something that is has poorly mannered or poorly handled something. So that's the difference. You can use ill for either something which is bad, okay, bad temperament, ill temperament, okay, bad behavior, ill behavior, or instead of poor, something that is, you know, poorly managed, ill managed. Okay, so that's the difference between both. Sick means only about physical health or emotional health, about a sickness, but when you say ill, it talks about something bad, poor, or sickness. That's the difference. So that is why it gets confusing. So now you know where you're going to use ill and where you're going to use sick. These were some adjectives that people get confused about, how to use it, where to use it, when to use it. So I have given you few, you know, words which are used on everyday basis. These are very commonly used words. You must have come across a few of them. Now you know where you will use which one. I hope you understood. I have given you examples. I have given you difference of both the words. If you need to understand more, just watch the video again and note it down so you can understand, you can use it properly wherever required. With that, I will end this video. I will see you soon with another topic, with a new topic very soon. Till then, keep learning, keep practicing and keep growing. Take care and goodbye.